What do Albert Einstein, J. Robert Oppenheimer, and Andrei Sakharov have in common? Three scientists, three moments in history, one shadow. The nuclear bomb. Einstein warned the United States in 1939. If America failed to act, Nazi Germany might win the race for the atom. Later, he admitted, "If I had known, I would never have signed that letter." Oppenheimer led the Manhattan Project and witnessed the first nuclear blast at Trinity. There, he spoke the words that would haunt him forever. "Now, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." And today, we look at the third name in this uneasy trilogy, Andrei Sakharov, the father of the Soviet hydrogen bomb, a national hero who turned into a dissident. In this episode, we'll see how he helped create the most powerful weapon of the 20th century, why he turned against his own state, and why his warnings sound more urgent than ever. This is Beneath the Surface Echoes, where every story has a hidden side. Andrei Sakharov was born in Moscow in 1921. His father was a physics teacher, his mother deeply religious. From both, he inherited a mix of science and conscience. During World War II, while millions fought at the front, Sakharov remained a student. He graduated in physics in 1942, as the Soviet Union was fighting for survival. By the end of the war, a new race had begun. In 1945, the United States dropped atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For Washington, it was the ultimate victory. For Moscow, it was humiliation. Stalin demanded his scientists catch up, at any cost. In August 1949, the Soviet Union shocked the world. It tested its first atomic bomb, RDS-1. The design was not only the work of Soviet laboratories, but also of secrets smuggled out of the Manhattan Project. Klaus Fuchs, a German-born physicist at Los Alamos, passed critical blueprints to Moscow. Theodore Hall, just 19, followed with additional details.
What made you do it?
I guess a major factor would be compassion.
Julius and Ethel Rosenberg became the only American civilians executed for atomic espionage. For Washington, they were traitors. Yet across the world, voices rose in their defense. Albert Einstein, Pablo Picasso, even Pope Pius XII appealed for mercy. At their funeral in 1953, thousands of mourners filled the streets of New York. To this day, they remain one of the most divisive couples of the Cold War, condemned by some, remembered as martyrs by others. Klaus Fuchs, Theodore Hall, the Rosenbergs. Each name carried secrets that changed history. I'm curious, out of all these figures, which one do you think deserves a deeper dive in a future episode? Let me know in the comments. Because together, they gave the Kremlin a shortcut of years. What the West thought would take a decade, the Soviet Union achieved in less than 5. But Stalin wanted more than a copy. He wanted a weapon to terrify the world. In 1950, the 29-year-old Sakharov was sent to Arzamas-16, a city erased from maps, ringed with barbed wire, the Soviet Union's top-secret nuclear laboratory. Here, he designed what became known as the sloika, or layer cake, alternating layers of uranium and fusion fuel. It was not yet a true hydrogen bomb, but it was a step beyond fission, a bridge toward thermonuclear power. In August 1953, the Soviets tested Sakharov's design. The explosion proved it worked. The Soviet Union was no longer behind. And within the Kremlin, Andrei Sakharov was celebrated as a national hero. But the same man who gave his country the bomb would soon begin to fear what it meant for the future of humanity. After the success of the sloika, Sakharov's team was pushed further. In 1961, Nikita Khrushchev gave the order: build a weapon so powerful it would terrify the world. The design was meant for 100 megatons, but Sakharov himself argued to cut it in half. Even so, at 50 megatons, it became the largest nuclear device ever detonated. On October 30th, 1961, over the Arctic archipelago of Novaya Zemlya, the Tsar Bomba exploded. The mushroom cloud climbed more than 60 kilometers into the sky, higher than Mount Everest. Windows shattered nearly 900 kilometers away in Norway and Finland. Shockwaves circled the Earth 3 times. For the Kremlin, it was triumph. But the timing was no accident. The blast came just days after the United States and the Soviet Union had sat down to resume disarmament talks.
The site of Vienna in the spring of 1961, when President Kennedy's plane arrived on the morning of Saturday, June 3rd. The world beset by problems of Berlin and Laos, nuclear testing and disarmament.
I went to Vienna to meet the leader of the Soviet Union, Mr. Khrushchev. For 2 days, we met in sober, intensive conversation. Mr. Khrushchev and I had a very full and frank exchange of views on the major issues that now divide our 2 countries. I wanted to present our views to him directly, precisely, realistically, and with an opportunity for discussion and clarification. This was done.
Экипаж одевает защитные очки. Приближается к точке взрыва. Высота 4000 метров. Осталось 3 секунды. 2, 1, 0. Взрыв сопровождался световой вспышкой необычной силы. В этот момент самолет-носитель находился в 40 и последующие свечения, несмотря на сплошную облачность, были видны в радиусе до... Полевой столб, поднимающийся с земли, быстро увеличился в объеме.
It was not only a test, it was a message. In Washington, officials called it a reckless stunt. The Pentagon calculated that if dropped on New York, it could kill tens of millions in a single strike. And for Sakharov, the celebration was mixed with something darker. He wrote of shame and horror at the consequences of his own work. The man hailed as the father of the Soviet H-bomb was beginning to turn against it, and soon, against his own state. In 1968, Sakharov wrote a 10,000-word essay, Reflections on Progress, Peaceful Coexistence, and Intellectual Freedom. It was smuggled to the West and published in the New York Times. Sakharov warned that a nuclear war would be global suicide, and that without human rights, science itself would become a weapon of tyranny. The essay spread like wildfire, millions of copies across the world. For the West, Sakharov became the symbol of conscience inside the Soviet Union. For the Kremlin, he became a traitor. Overnight, he lost his security clearance, his privileges, his position in the academy, from hero of the bomb to enemy of the state. Through the 1970s, Sakharov continued to speak out. He denounced political trials. He defended dissidents, from writers to Crimean Tatars. Each time, the KGB tightened its grip. Surveillance, intimidation, house searches. The international community reacted. Scientific academies from Europe and America sent letters of protest. Human rights organizations raised his name at the United Nations. The Soviet Union was condemned, but Sakharov remained under watch. Then, in 1975, came a turning point. The Nobel Committee awarded him the Peace Prize. But Moscow refused to let him travel. In Oslo, his wife Elena Bonner
Подняться на трибуну.
In 1979, Sakharov condemned the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. By January 1980, he and Bonner were seized by the KGB and exiled to the closed city of Gorky. Phones cut, friends arrested, medical care blocked. The world's most famous scientist prisoner now lived under constant surveillance. Yet even in exile, Sakharov's words reached beyond the barbed wire. And in his final years, he returned to Moscow with one last message. A message the world never heard. It became the beneath drop of his life. Through years of exile in the closed city of Gorky, Sakharov's lifeline was Elena Bonner. More than his wife, she was his ally, his messenger, his shield. The KGB monitored them both, day and night. But even the most repressive system had cracks. On rare occasions, The regime allowed Elena to travel abroad, officially for medical treatment. She needed surgery for her heart and eyes. Each time, she carried Sakharov's words hidden in her luggage, delivering them to Western journalists and human rights groups. When she returned, she faced interrogations and intimidation. But the message always got through. By the mid-1980s, pressure from abroad was relentless. Western governments, scientific academies, and human rights organizations raised Sakharov's name at every summit. Inside the Kremlin, his case had become a liability, a stain on the image of Soviet reform. In December 1986, Mikhail Gorbachev picked up the phone. He needed to ease tensions with the West and to prove his policy of perestroika. His words were simple: "You are free to return to Moscow." Sakharov walked back into public life, thin, tired, but unbroken. In parliament, he demanded reforms and human rights in front of the very state that once hailed him as a hero and later branded him a traitor. On December 14, 1989, he sat at his desk to finish another speech. A call for freedom in a crumbling empire. That night, his heart stopped. The speech remained unfinished. A message the world never heard. But his silence did not end the story. Because the shadow Sakharov feared most still hangs over us today. Today, 9 nations officially and unofficially hold the power to end the world. Russia keeps the largest arsenal, more than 5,000 nuclear warheads, many of them modernized. The United States follows close behind, with a similar stockpile and a massive modernization program underway. China has doubled its arsenal in just a few years, now around 500 warheads, projected to pass 1,000 by the end of this decade. France and Britain maintain smaller but advanced forces, anchoring Europe's nuclear shield. India and Pakistan share more than 300 warheads between them, locked in a fragile balance. Israel remains undeclared, but is widely believed to hold around 90 nuclear weapons. North Korea, once dismissed as a minor player, is now estimated to have 50 warheads and the material for nearly 90. And Iran continues to expand its nuclear program, not yet a declared power, but one step closer to the threshold that could ignite a new arms race in the Middle East. The club of nuclear powers has grown. The shadow is larger than ever. Sakharov once wrote, "The division of mankind threatens it with destruction. Only universal cooperation can save us." But the world is more divided than ever. Social media amplifies every fracture, turned into a tool of manipulation and control by politics. He also warned, there can be no peace without human rights. If you deprive people of truth, you deprive them of peace. And today, freedom of speech grows harder to defend. Voices are silenced if they stray from the approved narrative. Andrei Sakharov died in December 1989, weeks after the Berlin Wall fell. Albert Einstein had warned. Robert Oppenheimer had built. Sakharov did both, and then tried to stop the very machine he had set in motion. His warning was clear. Nuclear power was never only about balance. It was always about the end of everything. And the abyss he described half a century ago is closer than we want to believe.